All I've got here is just a quick checklist of things to consider when buying an investment property to let. And I know there's a lot of our audience is, our investment buyers and people looking for buy-to-lets and so on. So let's get into this. So as I said already, which I won't stay on too long because we've just discussed this. Firstly, I think it's really important to have a plan. Think about what your long-term goals are. Are you investing for income, or is it capital appreciation that's more important to you? Are you trying to give up your day job? Are you trying to build a large portfolio? How much capital have you got? How are you going to get the most out of it? So it's forming the basis of what is right for you. And don't just buy what someone else's idea of a good investment is either. So when you ask, a direct question, what should I buy at the moment? Should I buy HMO? Again, it's a very personal thing. What I would consider investing in doesn't necessarily make sense to what you might consider investing in. So just make sure that you make a plan and you know what you're looking at. This is a big one for me. It seems obvious, but I see a lot of people just get excited and jump in. And, for me, always seek financial advice first. Know your numbers. And also something that rings true for me is understanding the criteria of the buy-to-let mortgage. For example, the rental calculation. A lot of people don't know this, but it's one of the main drivers of how much can be borrowed. The monthly rental typically needs to be between 125 and 145% of the mortgage payment. So when you're trying to assess will something work on the numbers, if you know this sort of stuff, if you've spoken to your financial advisor and you've had this information, you can very quickly assess whether it's a property that you should be pursuing and whether it's something you should be taking seriously. And also, having done this shows you're a serious buyer and it strengthens your position during negotiation. And so negotiation is something that I absolutely love and I stand by. Sometimes you first see a deal and it isn't quite right, but you can make it right by strong negotiation. And of course, sellers and agents need confidence in your ability to move forward quickly. That's going to really help you. Next, budgeting. Remember, it's not just the purchase price that you've got to consider. Be sure to factor in the following costs: maintenance costs, renovations, having no tenants and filling void periods, agency fees, mortgage fees, legal costs, conveyancing costs for purchase, insurances, all these sorts of things. So again, you've only got so much money there to play with. You've got the deposit to front, and just make sure you know your numbers before you get into everything. That's really important. Type of tenant you want to attract, and obviously when you're looking for a property, don't rely on your own personal preferences because it's not a home for you. You've got to think about who your tenant's going to be and actually what sort of tenant you want. Obviously, it could be a working professional, family, young family, older retirees. Obviously, multiple occupants, your house share, students, tenants receiving benefits, all sorts of types of tenants. So think about who your target market is. Think about the sort of landlord you want to be and who you want to let to, and then make sure the property's presented to suit that target audience. For example, if you have a property that should attract more mature people in an area mainly occupied by retirees, then it wouldn't make sense to decorate and furnish to suit a younger person in funky modern colours and things like that. So, like I say, just think about who you're trying to attract. Takes nicely into rentability. What is the demand for the area and who's likely to be interested? Does it suit your ideal tenant? What amenities are nearby? Schools, hospital, transport links, factories, and of course, will demand be strong for years to come? Are you always going to find it easy to occupy with the sort of people that you want in there? So again, rentability is important to look at. Next one, just explore the market. Obviously, the internet's a powerful tool at the moment, and you can get so much information online. But just use all the tools available to research what properties are available. Network, engage with estate agents, letting agents, buying agents, property sources. There's loads of different options out there and different types of people that are in the market and can provide a certain service. Get on mailing lists, get yourself in there, make it clear you're a really good buyer, you're hot, you're ready to go now, make sure you're in the forefront of their minds. Check out auctions. Again, I've got some clients recently that have picked up a number of really good deals in auctions that actually have been bought at a reasonable price. They've required a bit of a refurb. The yield has been fantastic, and by the time the refurb's done, they've actually increased in value straight away because they've added value, and there's been a bit of a profit margin there too. So auctions are great, but just bear in mind there'll be another set of rules to live by. You'll have higher purchase fees and things like that as well. And something I often do, use the portals to research most reduced, time on market, repossessions, chain-free sales, and again, just really look for those motivated sellers. And the portals with their options to sort by various categories is a really good source of all of these things. And as I said, just be confident you're making the right purchase decision. You're only going to be confident by comparing your options and making sure that you're happy in comparison. Like I said earlier, negotiation, haggle the price. I personally absolutely love negotiation. It's what I do. It's what I've done for quite a long time. It's what I really like to focus on. And the main thing is fact find, ask the key questions. I guess the main thing I want to do is really find out what the vendor's motivation is, because if you know what the seller's motivation is, it's really going to give you a great indication as to how negotiable they might be. Find out what they're doing. If they found a property and they've got to sell their current property to be able to move on, that's always a good one, because you'll find they're more motivated. They're likely to want to do a deal to make the move work. So that's a situation I quite enjoy finding. And then before you make an offer, always set a target price for yourself. You've obviously done your numbers, you've followed the checklist here, you've done your numbers, you've budgeted, you know what you're looking at, you know what work's required, all that sort of thing. So you know what's sensible to pay for that particular investment, to pay for that particular property. So set your target price, and then from your target price, work back. You know that you're probably going to increase a couple of times during the negotiation. So know where to start, know what you're going to go up to, have that step-by-step negotiation plan already there, so that you know what move to make and when. Know when to throw in the best and final, know when to think about walking away and then come back with that cheeky extra couple of grand that you've found because you really want it. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about, and just make sure that you're confident you're getting the best deal that you possibly can there. This is something as well which is quite big, and I think this is something as Dawn knows a lot about this as well, she'll be able to back up. I think this is going to become more and more common over the coming months and years across the country. But look at what restrictions are in the area. So at the moment, there's over 70 councils in England that have brought schemes that go above and beyond government mandatory licences. So there's three types of licensing: mandatory, such as your typical HMO licenses and so on; additional licensing, which is again also mainly for HMOs and used by councils who apply their own stronger rules or criteria; and selective licensing, which can apply to all landlords in an area, and again set by local authority, and meaning you would have to adhere to certain regulations around property management and tenant safety and so on. And of course, as usual, all of these come at an additional cost. And from my research, typically the additional cost is generally around about £500 to £700 for any of these additional licenses. So always do your research on the area, make sure you know what you're looking at. And then coming on to protection and insurances. Now, obviously, Martin is big on protection, talks a lot about various things. For me, just look, do your research. There's a lot of different products out there, but you've got to think about insurance products that are specific to landlords, or make sure you've at least notified your insurance provider that you're letting your property out. You want to make sure you're covered for against things like tenant damage. That's really important. There are certain things that could happen in a buy-to-let property that are out of your control, but make sure you have the adequate cover. So do your research and make sure you're comfortable with what you've got there. Also think about protecting your rental income, especially at the moment. Obviously, we've already had a few questions tonight about upcoming redundancies and stuff like that. Do you know what? Protect your income. There's insurance products out there. Also, you can also cover legal costs if you ever have to go down an eviction route and that sort of thing. There's deposit replacement schemes now which offer more protection than deposits. There's so much as a landlord that you can access when you're letting a property. So do your research and work out what's best for you. And then finally, consider your responsibilities and legal obligations. Obviously, you guys are here, you're watching this. A lot of you would, be regular viewers of this sort of thing, and it won't come to it as any surprise to you that there's around about 180 pieces of legislation now, and obviously that's growing all the time, it seems, and there's always new things coming at us, and especially with the pandemic, there's additional things that no one was expecting however many months ago. Just make sure you start off compliantly, you have the right management set up to keep on top of everything, and you just try and avoid as much of the liability as possible by doing things right. So always consider your responsibilities and legal obligations. So I think that was 10. I aim to get 10. So that's my sort of key checklist of things to consider before investing in a property.